Yeah, it's pretty fun. Why can't we not just enjoy that? Alright. Hey guys, back again. No, I have not abandoned this series. I have just been, since I have been unemployed, for those who don't know who are just joining this channel, yes, I'm currently unemployed. If you want to help me out, there you can look at the Patreon in the link in the description below. That'd be extremely helpful. Anything helps. But anyway, yeah, pretty much since I've been unemployed for about 2 months now. In between job interviews, I go nowhere, and applications, I go nowhere. I've pretty much just been zeroing in on the YouTube shorts and really getting those going. And I'm very happy with that work, but it does mean I have not had much time for this as I thought I would have. So I'm slowly catching up. I'm gonna do these in little spurts, just so I can pace them out correctly, but I still have been seeing movies. I still have been going to the theater at least once a week to go see something. So what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to work off from probably the most recent one I've seen and working my way backwards, because I feel like if I go the other way around, people just aren't going to care, and they really care about the more recent releases. So that's what I'm going to start off here, and I figure I'd start with the one that I know everyone's kind of talking about right now, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. Now I'm going to do my best to avoid spoilers, because there is definitely a lot of really cool stuff that happens in this movie, like cameos and stuff like that, which I know people kind of wanted out of this, and then are now mad about it for some reason. So I'm going to try my best to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. If I do go into spoilers, I will make sure to put a little, something. I'll give you a little heads up before we get to that stage. But yeah, Deadpool 3. It's a lot of fun. It's not amazing. It's not groundbreaking. I don't really think it's trying to be. It just it's more Deadpool, and Hugh Jackman's back at Wolverine, and he's having a great time. Everyone's here is having a really fun time. There's a lot of fun set pieces. There's a great villain involved. There's a lot of good practical set uses. The action scenes are pretty good. It's overall it's a blast. I had a great time watching. I'm gonna adjust this because I'm look way too high. So yeah, Deadpool 3. Very entertaining. So for those who don't know what the story is, I'm going to go very briefly into it without going into any major spoilers. So this one obviously sees Deadpool, I think a couple years after the events of the last movie. He kind of made a pitch to MCU to become part of the Avengers. He failed, so now he's kind of in a slump, working as a car salesman. With Peter from the last movie, but his life is just very much in a slump, just not really getting it, not really going anywhere, kind of stuck in there. It feels kind of dead inside, that old shtick. But then one day at his birthday, he is found and summoned by the TVA from the Loki series, and told that he has been invited to the MCU properly. But the problem is that the reason they're bringing him into the MCU is because he's been labeled special, and the rest of his universe is dying. The reason the rest of his universe is dying is because what they're called anchor beings, which I'm not really sure will stick around past this movie, died, and that was Logan, the original Wolverine. Since he is dying, this universe is going to slow decay that could take thousands of years, but this guy, the TVA, decides he wants to accelerate the process because he doesn't want to wait around, so he's inventing a machine that will destroy it a lot faster. Deadpool obviously doesn't want this because he has people he cares about in the universe, so his idea is to recruit another universe Wolverine that doesn't have a lot going on and invite them into his universe, so that way that will stabilize things. Him on his journey, so he does eventually find one that kind of unintentionally joins him, basically. But obviously the TVA guy doesn't really like this plan, so he banishes both to I forget the name of it, the banished area from the Loki series. And from there they find Cassandra Nova, who's the main villain in this movie, who is great. I thought her character was fantastic, and the actress who played it did a really good job. I'm going to look it up because I should have looked this up beforehand, but I didn't, and I'm going to do that thing I do in every review I do where I vamp until I can figure out who the name of the person is. But anything I kind of say beyond this is going to spoiler territory, and I'm really trying too hard to avoid that. So I'm just going to try to switch over here from what works and what doesn't work, because there is Emma Corrin. Emma Corrin is plays Cassandra Nova, so I'm going to try just into what works and what doesn't, because it's definitely not a perfect movie. I did have a lot of fun with it. I would not say it's my favorite MC movie I've seen recently, but I think it's a really fun blast for what it is. And I think if you go in there with the right mindset, you have a great time. Although I've heard No, I'll get into that later. So definitely what works. I think Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman is great to see them together. They both have great chemistry. Hugh Jackman is definitely putting everything he has into the performance, which is, again, surprising considering that it's a Deadpool movie. And, but that being said, like, everyone that shows up in this feels like they're giving it everything they got. That goes into the many, many cameos that go into this. And, like, there's a lot of good passion and care and performances that play into this. It's clear everyone who's in this movie wants to be here. Everyone's having a fun time with it. The story beats work pretty well. There's definitely some parts where you can make an argument, which is probably one of the more negative aspects of the film, is you can make an argument. It does rely on nostalgia a little too much, say, in kind of the way that No Way Home did, except No Way Home did a better job of incorporating those characters into its story. This one feels like it's more kind of like homages and kind of a love letter to the Fox era of superhero movies, which isn't inherently bad, but it does feel like it's gaslighting you to believing those movies were much better than they were. So it does. There are parts that definitely feel like the movie's going like, oh, you guys didn't know how good you had it back in the Fox days, but I don't think it's a strong enough presence in the movie, and it's not as definitely as aggressive as it could be, so I think it's forgivable. I think you could easily let it slide, because what you do get out of it is still pretty cool. And again, it's really hard to talk about going into spoilers. There was definitely some reveals that made me laugh my ass off. One in particular, which I think happens fairly early on in the movie. I'm not going to give it away, but it was just, wow, I was blown back. So, like, the visuals work really, really well. The story structure does a good job of getting the job done. Sorry. My throat is all phlegmy. I definitely say stuff that doesn't work. It really is just the over-reliance on nostalgia, and I think I said the same thing about No Way Home. That means I still think the movie's a great movie overall, but you do have to ask the question, is if you take the in-jokes and the nostalgia out of it, is the movie that's still there still worth watching? I would still say yes, although there are times I feel like it relies a little too much on knowing very specific internet things that you wouldn't know if you're not on the internet all the time. So it does feel like it kind of panders to that audience a little bit, which is so strange because that same audience is very violently rejecting this for some reason, and I don't really get why. Like, I've read there's definitely some clickbait articles out there, like, oh, this movie doesn't have any heart. This movie, like, people who like meta jokes deserve better. Like, will you guys fucking chill? Seriously? Like, this movie does have heart. This movie does feel like a project of passion. Feels like, again, everyone wants to be here. There is definitely a love and reverence for these characters. I don't get any critique that says that, oh, these are not, like, this isn't what I wanted, this is bad, blah, 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 blah. I don't get that criticism. I don't think it's accurate. That being said, I'm sure there's a bunch of snobby, pretentious douchebags who will let me know in the comments if they so want to go that direction. Again, a lot of it boils down to Hugh Jackman, who is really giving it 110%, even with, like, the yellow suit. He's even got the cowl on, which doesn't always look great, but it's still cool to see it. And again, like, it's so hard not to talk about this on spoilers. So it's probably a fairly short review just on that basis, because again, I really, really, really don't want to give anything away. The movie's only been out for like a week. It's not fair to really spoil anything at this time. But I still think, like, you know, I think, how would I rank this among the Deadpool movies? I think the first one's still the best. I would say this one's better than Deadpool 2. But all of them are good. All of them are entertaining. But they've never really been champions of ultra-depth characterization. So again, I don't really understand why people are upset that this one also doesn't have that. Honestly, I would argue this one might have the most of the three. So I don't know. I don't get why the internet is mad about this one now. It feels stupid to me. It feels like another notch in the anti-fandom movement against these things, about hating the popular thing because it gets clicks, of milking anger wherever you can farm it, just for money. And grift and clicks and all that shit. And I just don't do that shit. I hate that shit. I'm starting to more actively push back on it because I just cannot stand where we've gone with this. And it's gotten to the point where it's like, guys, talk about literally anything else. For the love of God, touch grass, go outside. What is wrong with you? There is legitimate reasons not to like this movie. Like, to be fair, there are legitimate reasons not to care for it. There's also a lot of reasons why people do care for it. But for some reason, there's no nuance to these conversations anymore. It's either just completely binary. And I know I've mentioned this in many videos before. I know I'm just repeating myself, but it's just such a consistent problem in this fan base that is just, it's infuriating. And it stands against everything I try to stand for on this channel. So it just, I don't know. But yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine. I had a great time. It's definitely a movie you should see with an audience if you can. It is definitely the biggest blockbuster of the year so far. And I'm looking forward to see how they incorporate Deadpool and maybe Hugh Jackman in the future movies. Although I still hope they recast Wolverine as like the official MCU version, because I love Hugh Jackman. Don't get me wrong. I am kind of ready for new blood to take over. Kind of in the same way I'm tired of like Batman and Jokers. Like, I want a different interpretation of this that doesn't feel like the same thing we've been doing since since like the early 2000s. I think we need fresh blood. I'm glad Hugh Jackman got to do Swan Song. I'm glad he got to give his character a happy ending. I'm glad that he got to do this ride. I'm glad this movie exists and it's in the way that it does. But let's get some new blood in here. I'm not even saying like Daniel Radcliffe, because I never really understood that casting choice. I just don't feel like he has it. But I've been wrong before, so I can be wrong again. So I think it's really like all I can say about this movie without giving anything away. That being said, if you want to discuss spoilers, we can do it so in the comments. If anyone wants me to do a video specifically discussing spoilers, let me know and I'll make it. Until then, I am going to talk about 2 movies today, and then I'll do some more next week. Until then, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.